A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. Now, President William Ruto today commenced his 3-day tour in Mount Kenya region, a tour which has attracted huge crowds from his region dominated by his opponent Rigathi Gachagua, who stated that the president's team has been mobilizing people and dishing out cash to entice them to join him in his extravaganza tour to the mountain. Ruto, who started his visit in Laikipia County and later visited Gachagua's home county of Nyeri, challenged his opponents to find a well-packaged agenda with a plan and avoid interfering with his well-established work, as Davis Karani reports.
The use of the Agikuyu greetings by the head of state symbolized the arrival to the region that he has not set foot since the removal of his former second-in-command, who is now his top opponent in the country, and due to the perception and the narrative that has always been channeled towards him by his opponent Rigathi Gachagua. Ruto landed with a message to them.
Hawa wananisumbua na makelele hawa. Mimi nataka niwaambie nyinyi, mnaosumbuka na mimi, mufanye mambo mawili. Kwanza, kama mnataka kushindana na mimi, kwendeni tafuta sera. Mwambie hawa wananchi kilimo mtafanya nini? Barabara mtafanya nini? Sitima mtafanya nini? Matibabu mtafanya nini? Bure mtazunguka hapo alafu mambo yenu itazama.
The president, who also spoke on his intended formation of a broad-based government, promised those questioning his administration to wait till 2027 when Kenyans will be making a new decision on the ballot basing on the track records.
Si kila mtu afanye kazi. Si 2027 nyinyi ndio mtaamua. Yule mtu amefanya kazi simtampatia ile inatoshana na yeye. Yule mtu atafanya kazi, hajafanya kazi simtampeleka nyumbani. Hakuna haja ya kusumbuana saa hizi.
Today being the first day of April, a day which is also identified as Fool's Day, and many Kenyans having baptized the president as a man who always spreads lies during his tours, this time round, the axe couldn't get the president, but instead it fell on Laikipia County Governor Honorable Joshua Irungu, who spoke on the availability of subsidized fertilizer, which was not the case, and was exposed by the public, which was on radar on every statement that was said.
Fertilizer iko Oromoran, iko Kinamba, iko Supiri, iko Muhoteto, iko hata hapa jirani, hapa Gituaba, fertilizer iko hapo. Na tunakushukuru kwa sababu ya hayo. Na tunakuomba, hakuna fertilizer. Nasema hivi, fertilizer imeweza kufika, lakini bado kuna ingine bado haijakuja na itakuja. Fertilizer.
The president also transferred the name Zakayo given to him by the public to the former boss of Nakuru County, Deritu Mreithi, due to his new position in government.
Sasa ile jina ya Zakayo mlimpatia, Zakayo mwenyewe ndio huyu.
The head of state is expected to tour Meru and Kirinyaga County consecutively on Wednesday as he keeps spreading the broad-based implemented agenda to the people of the mountain.
Kuna watu naona wameanza kunishauri. Ati sijui, wewe ukai kama unapigana na rais vizuri, sijui wewe ukai kama unabishana na rais. Kwani tangu siku gani kazi ya naibu ya rais imekuwa ya kupigana na rais?
Day one is over with a good reception contrary to the anticipations laid. How will be his day two tour be?
Hii Laikipia, mimi nikiwa rais wa Kenya, haiwezi kubaki nyuma. Mimi nitahakikisha kwamba wakati Kenya inapiga hatua ya kwenda mbele, Laikipia iko katikati.
Will he implement the promises that he has made to the people of the mountain today, being a Fool's Day?
Huyu mjumbe wenu Daktari Karani anasema mambo bado. Anasema bado kuna shule ingine ambayo pia inataka tushughulike nayo. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Na kwa sababu huyu mjumbe wenu ni mtu wa bidii, sasa namwambia Bwana Mariro ambaye ni PS wangu wa mambo ya usalama ama ya defense. Si ndio? Hiyo kazi nimempatia, sasa hiyo shule imebaki. Shule ya hapa Laikipia West, shule ya kule Laikipia North, shule ya hapa Baringo. Wewe ushughulike nayo, mimi nitakuongezea pesa ndio tuweze kujenga mashule yote, wananchi wa hapa watoto wao wasome.
Time will tell. Davis Karani, GBS News, Mount Kenya region.
Kenya's new Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has vowed to push forward with the implementation of universal health coverage while addressing corruption in the sector. Speaking after taking over the ministry, Duale promised to remove obstacles slowing down healthcare reforms and announce new measures to make healthcare more affordable. He also called for peace talks with union leaders, asking for 3 weeks to find solutions to their concerns.
Kenya's new Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has promised to make sure the universal health coverage plan works for all Kenyans and to fight corruption in the health sector, which he believes is holding back the progress.
There was a lot of fraud in the system, so this digital health system, integrated system, is going to deal with all that. And that's why there is a lot of opposition to the reforms that is taking place in the health sector in our country. And I want to assure the people of Kenya, from the President, universal health care will work. Universal health care will give a better health care, access, affordable, quality to the many and millions of Kenyans who cannot afford it.
As part of improving healthcare, Duale announced new measures like increasing the limits for ICU and HDU and raising the oncology treatment limit.
As earlier pronounced by His Excellency the President, effectively to today, 1st April, the ICU and the HDU bed rebate has been enhanced to Kenya shillings 28,000 per day, while oncology package for cancer patients has been enhanced to Kenya shillings 550,000 per person.
Duale also met with the union leaders, asking them to bring their issues to the table instead of holding protests, promising to consult with the necessary stakeholders and give them solutions in 3 weeks.
Hawa viongozi wameniambia maneno ngapi? Permanent and pensionable. Na gratuity. Na nimesema wanipe wiki 3. Niongee na other stakeholders wakiwa na county governments. Niongee na National Treasury. Niongee na bunge. Niongee na rais. Na lazima, hakuna shida dunia hii haiwezi kutatuliwa.
He also promised to work closely with ministry officials to improve the health sector, assuring them that he has no personal interest and his focus is solely on making healthcare better for all Kenyans.
I am going to look into every issue that we develop, working with all the team at the Ministry of Health. I will never let down the people of Kenya. I have no personal interest. I have a national interest. Yes. Those who have personal interests, they will not be in Avia House.
Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has defended his track record as Interior and National Administration Cabinet Secretary, stating that he did his outermost to keep the country safe during his 2-year tenure. Speaking in Garachi, Laikipia County today, Kindiki said he can confidently account for every single day he was in office and the steps he took to improve security. He recalled that when President William Ruto took over in 2022, Laikipia was struggling with high levels of insecurity, but with decisive government interventions, the situation has changed. Kindiki pointed out that these efforts are exactly why President Ruto is in Laikipia today to open a school in an area where bandit attacks had once made learning impossible. Ruto and his deputy have kicked off a week-long tour of the Mount Kenya region, starting in Laikipia County. The president reopened Ngarachi Primary School and 8 other schools in Laikipia West that had been destroyed by criminals.
Tuko pamoja jameni. Laikipia tumekubaliana. Na mimi nataka niwahakikishie ya kwamba hii Laikipia, mimi nikiwa rais wa Kenya, haiwezi kubaki nyuma. Mimi nitahakikisha ya kwamba wakati Kenya inapiga hatua ya kwenda mbele, Laikipia iko katikati ya hiyo mpango ya kupeleka taifa letu la Kenya.
Mimi ndiye governor wa kule Embu County. Na tumekuja hapa Nimekuja hapa sio kama gavana peke yake, nimekuja hapa kama mwenyekiti wa chama tawala cha UDA. Na nimekuja kuangalia kama watu wa Laikipia wako na serikali. Na leo nimeona mko ndani zaidi.
Kuna watu naona wameanza kunishauri. Ati sijui, wewe ukai kama unapigana na rais vizuri, sijui wewe ukai kama unabishana na rais. Kwani tangu siku gani kazi ya naibu ya rais imekuwa ya kupigana na rais? Kwani mimi ni kiongozi wa upinzani? Si mambo ya kupigana na serikali, ni wale wako nje, watu ya upinzani. My job is to support the president, to defend him, to support him, to work under him and work with my colleagues to make sure what he does we follow through and we deliver to the people of Kenya. Na mimi nataka nikuhakikishie Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi nikiwa msaidizi.
We apologize for that story. The opposition coalition has also dubbed as People's Loyal Coalition, led by Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua, have today questioned the ongoing process aimed to form the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on what they termed as a conflict of interest after Ms. Joy Midivu, who initially served as United Democratic Alliance Party chair, on disputes and have stated that the entire process being conducted by the IBC Select Panel is not in line with the NADCO report. Davis Karani reports.
The recruitment saying he is trying to recruit a William Ruto commission, electoral commission.
This is the opposition stand on the ongoing IEBC commissioners' interviews, which according to the opposition wing, the body will not be independent and balanced as required by the Kenyan constitution.
Hatukai kitako. And yet we don't want to delay the process because we're also aware William Ruto may want this thing prolonged mpaka ikimaliza 2026 waseme songesha uchaguzi to 2032. It will not happen.
The opposition question on how Ms. Joy Midivu made her way unqualified to be vetted, which enabled her name to be among the names that will be submitted to President William Ruto for approval, and yet the opposition did not submit any representative to the commission, considering the fact that Odinga, who submitted the opposition's name, is already in government.
We wish to point out the case of Joy Midivu. She has been the chairperson of the UDA Internal Dispute Resolution Committee. It is clear that Ms. MS Midivu is not eligible for consideration for appointment as IEBC Commissioner as stipulated in Article 88. Any appointment of the chairperson or commissioners without reverting to the opposition is totally unacceptable, and we will take whatever action is available to us.
Well, back to our former story. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has defended his track record as Interior and National Administration Cabinet Secretary, stating that he did his uttermost to keep the country safe during his 2-year tenure. Speaking in Ngarachi, Laikipia County today, Kindiki said that he can confidently account for every single day he was in office and the steps he took to improve security. He recalled that when President William Ruto took over in 2022, Laikipia was struggling with high levels of insecurity, but with decisive government interventions, the situation has changed. Kindiki pointed out that these efforts are exactly why President Ruto is in Laikipia County today to open a school in an area where bandit attacks had once made learning impossible. Ruto and his deputy president have kicked off a week-long tour of the Mount Kenya region starting in Laikipia. The president reopened Ngarachi Primary School and 8 other schools in Laikipia West that had been destroyed by criminals.
Na nimekuja kuangalia kama watu wa Laikipia wako na serikali. Na leo nimeona mko ndani zaidi.
Kuna watu naona wameanza kunishauri. Ati sijui, wewe ukai kama unapigana na rais vizuri, sijui wewe ukai kama unabishana na rais. Kwani tangu siku gani kazi ya naibu ya rais imekuwa ya kupigana na rais? Kwani mimi ni kiongozi wa upinzani? Si mambo ya kupigana na serikali, ni wale wako nje, watu ya upinzani. My job is to support the president, to defend him, to support him, to work under him and work with my colleagues to make sure what he does we follow through and we deliver to the people of Kenya. Na mimi nataka nikuhakikishie Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi nikiwa msaidizi wako mkuu, pamoja na wenzangu mawaziri ambao umetupatia kazi, PSs and all officers ya serikali, wabunge ambao wamechaguliwa na chama chetu, we will not waste time trying to argue with people without an agenda for Kenya, with people without an agenda for any part of this country. Sisi hatutapoteza muda wetu kupiga gumzo na kubishana na watu ambao hawaambii wananchi vile maisha yao itakuwa bora kesho. Na mimi nataka nikuhakikishie, I'll be a steady assistant, a steady deputy right behind.
It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi mida ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwenzangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo miungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, aje nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga.
Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you we can see between the lines.
Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA hapo
nasema hivi mheshimiwa, ikiwa Raila
itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa yeye ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaha, kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD. Nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rais.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GBS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana, hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa, hakuna dawa kwa hospitali, my friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa ya Mwenyezi Mungu.
GBS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Water remains to be the world's most precious commodity, but is the most misused. In times of drought, saving water is the only solution to making sure you have it. Don't use the shower when water is scarce. Instead, use the basin while bathing. Repair all leaking taps and pipes. Wash your car only whenever necessary. If not, use a piece of cloth to wipe it clean. Do not use the hose pipe to water your garden. Instead, use the water you clean your vegetable with to water your flowers. Do not release wastewater into rivers. Note that your downstream is someone else's upstream. Of all the waters available on Earth, only 1% is fit for human consumption. Every drop counts.
And welcome back. The directors of Body by Design, a cosmetic surgery clinic, failed to appear in court to face manslaughter charges related to the death of Lucy Wambui, who died following a botched liposuction procedure. The court has now directed the suspects Lillian Edna Wanjiru, the owner, and George Wakari Njoroge and Robert Maweo Mutula, the surgeons, to appear on Thursday this month for plea taking. Lucy Wambui, a 47-year-old social media influencer, underwent a 360-degree liposuction and Brazilian butt lift, also known as BBL, at Omnicare Medical, operating as Body by Design on October 2024 on the 16th. She experienced severe complications including sepsis and multiple intestinal perforations, leading to her death on the 26th of October last year. The autopsy revealed extensive internal injuries and systematic infection, with the cause of death attributed to severe sepsis and peritonitis. The clinic had been found operating below required medical standards, leading to its closure by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. The suspect, who had secured anticipatory bail, urged that Wambui had been informed of the risk and provided consent for the procedure. However, the ODPP has approved manslaughter charges, citing negligence and failure to meet patient safety standards.
This is almost the second time the matter is coming up in court. The defense was aware that at the end of the day they were one day going to be charged. They should have moved to the High Court for other orders, but they kept quiet till now. They requested for a date at their own discretion, at their own speed. The defense, the prosecution has requested for warrants. To balance the wheels of justice, I do direct that the accused person do appear before me tomorrow at 9 a.m. for further directions.
They chose not to attend court for whatever reasons best known to them. Their advocate on record, who had been served with today's summons as well, indicated to the court that they were served late, and his presence in court was confirmation that indeed they were aware that they were supposed to attend court today for purposes of plea taking.
Suspects in the murder of 17-year-old Gala Aden Abdi, who was murdered for refusing a forced marriage to a 55-year-old man, have been ordered to remain in custody for 14 more days by the Principal Magistrates Court in Wajir. The suspects include Mohammed Kasim Tifo, the alleged husband of two of his relatives, Musa Tifo, Kasim and Abdullahi Kasim Tifo. The court's decision comes amid widespread outrage over the brutal killing, which has sparked national and international condemnation. Gala was forcibly taken from her home in the Dagali refugee camp and transported to a remote village in Wajir County, where she was subjected to 27 days of abuse before being murdered. Her body was found burned beyond recognition, with medical reports indicating 100-degree burns and spinal injuries.
Against either Esperance de Tunis or Mamelodi Sundowns.
The Higher Education Loans Board, HELB, and the Universities Fund have launched an appeal mechanism for students dissatisfied with the new university funding model. This comes after the Court of Appeal suspended a ruling that had declared the model unconstitutional. Students and stakeholders have until April 4th to submit comments, as nationwide public engagements are set to take place.
The Higher Education Loans Board and the Universities Fund have launched an appeals mechanism for students dissatisfied with the new university funding model. This follows a Court of Appeal ruling on March 25th that declared the model unconstitutional. Public participation on the appeals mechanism will run until April 4th, with the students, parents, and other stakeholders invited to submit comments through HELB, Universities Fund emails, Huduma centers, and designated university desks. The variable scholarship loan funding model, which categorizes students into 5 financial bands based on need, has faced widespread opposition, with students terming it unfair. Despite protests, the Court of Appeal allowed the government to continue implementing the model, while legal challenges persist. In response, HELB and the Universities Fund assured transparency in the appeals process, scheduling nationwide engagements between April 1st and April 4th to address concerns. The Ministry of Education has pledged to revise and align the funding model with the court directives. Meanwhile, student leaders continue to push for reforms, arguing that the current system disadvantages many learners from the low-income backgrounds. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
The High Court of Kenya has declared the government's directive requiring parents to pay school fees through the e-citizen platform unconstitutional. Justice Chacha Muita delivered the ruling on Tuesday, 1st of April this year, stating that the directive lacked a legal foundation and was implemented without public participation. The court also prohibited the government from enforcing the directive. The court emphasized that the government failed to involve the public in decision-making process, which was quite an unconstitutional requirement for significant policies. The 50 shillings convenience fee imposed on transactions was deemed unlawful, with the court stating it amounted to double taxation. The court questioned the integrity of the e-citizen platform, noting uncertainty about who collects the funds and where they are deposited. The case was filed by Nakuru-based activist Magari Gikenyi and the Law Society of Kenya, who urged that the directive lacked adequate public participation and stakeholder engagement. Here is more on the story. It is time for us to take a short break. Keep streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 211144. We'll be right back.
Everywhere, GBS. When you're talking about the unmet expectations, especially on personal growth, what are we looking into? Because if I'm building myself personally, if I'm building myself to be a greater version of what I was yesterday, what am I looking into exactly? Our topic today, how to deal with unmet expectations. What are we looking into? What are these expectations that are unmet mostly? How do you deal with, or how do you practice to overcome the expectations, the unmet expectations in an everyday life? Recognize your own effort and to congratulate yourself where you can, because nobody claps longer and louder for you than yourself. At what stage are we supposed to sit down and talk about the do's and don'ts and what you're expecting, and how honest am I supposed to be in regards to relationships and dating?
And start by saying nobody is perfect. So it will be very unrealistic for you to go into a relationship expecting your partner to be 100% perfect. So you should always be prepared for some disappointments. You can be able to communicate and ask them, I'm struggling in this certain area. How do I overcome this? It's important to build that community because
pride itself in character education, focusing on the world of the heart of the kids and developing them to be able to be strong enough. We student-oriented in that we try as much as possible to have an individualized learning. That is why we have limited our number, especially for each class of students, to have a maximum of 15 students.
The ratio of the teacher to student is 1:2, which means we can give our students maximum time and also cooperation in terms of academics.
And away from that, also, we build them around life skills. You know, we have programs that make them not only academicians, but also give them a space to have an emotional quotient, you know, develop them, and especially using the Bible.
I call this school a good school because the second my mom saw it, she saw it was Christian-based.
The school also supports the character building to our students, and this equips our students to be a strong person in the society, giving them a strong mindset so that they can be able to face challenges wherever they go in their lives after school. And it has been a nice experience how we interact with them.
One thing I like about the school is how teachers are so considerate and caring. If you don't understand anything, no matter how long it's gonna take, they're gonna stand by you.
Getting the long distance relationship.
First of all, the world is now a global village thanks to technology and the internet.
When you talk about relationships, when you talk about love, when you talk about feelings, when you talk about emotions, all these things originate from the heart. I never saw in the Bible where someone was married and then the wife was living far away from them and then there was something that they were building.
When it comes to relationships and probably communication, that distance is not a barrier.
Yeah.
But it is in communication, in effective communication. There is something that long distance relationships lack, which is very essential for effective relationship building.
When you are cooking and the tap gets spoiled, do you try to repair it from that point or you run to the main source and then you close it?
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back. In Myanmar, aftershocks continue to shake central regions following last week's powerful earthquake. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees is rushing essential relief supplies to thousands of survivors in the Mandalay. With many already displaced by years of conflict, the earthquake has only deepened the crisis. The UNHCR teams are working to assess the most urgent needs and provide vital aid to those in the hardest hit regions.
Aftershocks continue to pound central Myanmar. Following the earthquake on March 28th, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has rushed emergency supplies from Yangon to some 25,000 earthquake survivors in the area. The agency is mobilizing more relief items from the existing stocks in Myanmar and hopes these plastic sheets, sleeping mats, blankets, kitchen sets, and mosquito nets can provide some relief in these turbulent times. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees team is currently identifying critical needs in the worst affected areas of Mandalay and Sagaing regions as part of an interagency rapid needs assessment. The most urgent requirement is to deploy shelter and relief items to the affected areas. The agency is communicating with the affected communities on safety issues and the provision of emergency aid. The earthquake and its aftershocks compound an already desperate situation in a country reeling from 4 years of conflict. The quake-hit areas are home to 45% of the 3.5 million internally displaced people across Myanmar. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees continues to advocate for an impended humanitarian access to help these communities who need urgent assistance. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Keir Starmer slammed the previous UK government's Rwanda asylum scheme as wasteful and inefficient at an international immigration summit in London. Highlighting its high cost and minimal impact, his remarks come as the UK faces growing pressure to address irregular immigration, particularly across the English Channel.
UK Labour leader Keir Starmer criticized the previous government's controversial Rwandan asylum scheme, calling it wasteful and insufficient during an international immigration summit held in London on Monday.
Well, since coming to office, I can announce today we've returned more than 24,000 people who have no right to be here. That would have taken the Rwanda scheme 80 years to achieve. This is about fairness. And there is little that strikes working people as more unfair than watching illegal migration drive down their wages, their terms and their conditions through illegal work in their community. We'll be honest here. For too long, the UK has been a soft touch on them.
Starmer, whose Labour government cancelled the policy after taking office in July 2024, criticized the scheme for its exorbitant cost, which amounted to over £700 million in taxpayer money for the removal of only 4 asylum seekers.
We're also deploying resources away from the Tories' wasteful Rwanda scheme, a scheme that spent over £700 million of taxpayer money to remove just 4 volunteers. Now, you know, even if that scheme had gone well, they were claiming that they might remove 300 people a year.
Starmer's comment come amid growing pressure from the anti-immigration Reform UK party, which has seen rising support, particularly over concerns about irregular migration. The UK has struggled to manage migrant crossing in the English Channel, often in dangerous conditions, and has responded by tightening immigration and citizenship rules for migrants arriving through unsafe means. In addition, the UK hosted the Organised Immigration Crime Summit this week, aimed at fostering stronger cooperation among European nations to combat irregular migration, especially across English Channel and the North Sea. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
The U.S. government has deported 17 alleged gang members tied to the Venezuelan group Tren de Aragua and the notorious MS-13 to El Salvador, sparking a renewed legal battle over the deportation process. The American Civil Liberties Union has raised concerns over the methods used to determine gang affiliations, questioning the reliability of certain evidence, including tattoos and self-admissions. While the U.S. administration defends its actions, citing security concerns, a federal judge has temporarily blocked the use of wartime laws to target these individuals, and the Supreme Court now faces a key decision on whether to lift that block.
The U.S. State Department said the Trump administration deported more alleged gang members to El Salvador.
A heavy security presence in several cities across Zimbabwe largely neutralized a national protest on Monday aimed at pressuring President Emerson to resign. Most businesses, offices, and schools in the capital, Harare, and Bulawayo shut down, with people choosing to stay home amid fears of unrest. Independence War veterans had called for the demonstration to protest against plans to extend the Mnangagwa's rule.
A national protest in Zimbabwe on Monday aimed at pressuring President Emmerson Mnangagwa to resign was largely suppressed due to heavy security presence. Many business, offices and schools in Harare and Bulawayo shut down as citizens stayed home amid fears of unrest.
Basically, it all depends on what people call a protest. People are used to violent protest, of which it's not violent. I've walked all over town, like from downtown up to uptown. Reasonably, majority of the shops are closed.
The protest, led by Independence War veterans, was sparked by concerns over plans to extend Mnangagwa's presidency until 2030, despite him currently serving his second and final term.
To us, it shows there is no democracy in our nation.
The veterans who once supported Mnangagwa accused him of corruption and clinging to power, calling for Vice President Constantine Chiwenga to take over. The protest was met with a strong security response, including the use of tear gas to disperse a small group of protesters in Harare. Police declared the situation peaceful, urging citizens to continue with their daily activities. Mnangagwa has denied any intention to extend his presidency, but his administration has been plagued by allegations of corruption and mismanagement, leaving many unconvinced that he will step down when his term ends. The country's 2013 constitution limits president to 2 5-year terms. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
It is time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Al Hilal faces a significant challenge in the quest to remain in the season's CAF Champions League as they prepare to take on Egypt's the two-time defending African champions in the first leg of their quarter-final match in Cairo in Egypt on Tuesday. This marks the first time in a decade that Al Hilal has advanced past the group stage, having topped the final standings in Group A. Although the initial match will take place in Cairo, the Al Hilal is dissatisfied with the CAF's decision to hold the second leg in Mauritania, especially since the two-time Champions League runners-up had requested to play in nearby Libya. Now, the team that emerges victorious after the second leg in Nouakchott on 8th of April will go on face-to-face either last season's finalist Esperance de Tunis or Mamelodi Sundowns in the semi-finals. To the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. My name is Stephen George. We make your news our business. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madeng. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.